This is the Misdirected Mark Podcast, a podcast about gaming, game mastering, and entertaining you, our listeners. We are explicit, you have been warned, and I'd like to thank Mike Willard for letting us use his music on our show. Now let's pick up those mics and get on with this thing.
All right. Hey, have you found it yet?
Nope. Every time I think I locate it, there's just a mention.
I could have sworn it was here a few years ago.
Oh, hey, guys. Hey, what are you looking for?
An old episode. I listened to it a while back, but now when I look, it's just not there.
Are you sure it was there?
I don't think I imagined it.
You know, I remember it too.
No, all right. No. Well, I'm here. Like, I can help out. Let's look for it.
Do you think maybe something happened to the episode?
Maybe someone hid it deliberately. Maybe the advice in the episode was too important to leave unattended.
Sounds like there's more to this missing episode than I thought. Which episode is missing?
That's episode 199.
199? Oh, no. That episode's about
conspiracies.
Dun, dun, dun.
And with that, welcome to the 414th episode of the Misdirected Mark Podcast. Tonight we talk about running conspiracies in your games. Along the way, we'll drop in for comments and suggestions from the chat room for life before jumping into the after show. But first, my name is Jerry.
My name is Phil, for whoever is out there listening to the conspiracy episode.
And I am Old Man Logan. How's it going tonight, everybody? As usual, before we can walk into the house, we need to take a temperature check to make sure everybody's good. Phil, how you doing?
I am okay-ish. I am a little, I don't know. Physically, I guess physically I'm fine. I'm not sick or anything, health-wise fine. I'm rocking some anxiety over some stuff that's kind of coming up in the next couple weeks. And I kind of like lost my my ability to regulate my sleep again. So I've been creeping up on 3 a.m. Bedtimes and getting up, around 7:30 and 8, and starting to kind of wear on me. It's making it a little hard to think clearly in the morning. And
yep.
So there's not much I can do about the anxiety parts, but I really got to tamp down the get to bed parts again. I need to just get through the next couple weeks, and then I think things will be better for a little while. So I just have to kind of lock it down. I'm not doom scrolling. I'm doing the opposite, right? I'm staying up late, and I'm on TikTok.
Yeah.
Which is the opposite of doom scrolling. It's like hope swiping. I think is hope swiping's great. It's fun, but it is the thing I do when I'm anxious and I don't want to go to bed and be anxious. I just stay up until I can't see straight.
Yeah.
So that's bad. So anyway, I'm okay-ish, holding up. How about you, Jared?
Pretty good. I had a chaotic week last week, but we're over that hump. I have a new employee that started yesterday, and they're turning out to be everything we were hoping for. And had a little bit of craziness because we had a power outage today at the office.
Wackiness.
Sorry, a little wacky today. But we had a power outage at the office, and that caused some additional chaos. But went pretty well. Other than that, I'm feeling okay. I'm on week 2.5 of the diet, and I'm still holding okay.
Excellent.
Kind of plateaued. And mentally, I'm ready for what comes next. We can get through this, and I have good friends get me through it. So, and family. So there we go. Bob, how about you?
Yeah, I struggled with a little frustration over the weekend because for 2 weeks in a row, I've gained a pound after doing everything that I could to watch my calories and be under a significant amount for the week, and yet Saturday morning, I get on the scale and it's like, you gained a pound, fuck off. Like, what is this? So, that was kind of frustrating, but, it's podcast night, which always makes me feel better. And we have an interesting show, and I'm enjoying the thought of getting into this. And I haven't been doing a ton of doom scrolling, so physically the neck has mellowed out again. It's kind of settled into a groove. So feeling okay. All right.
It's real good to hear.
Let's do this thing.
In the lobby, we are ready to talk about one thing. What geeky thing is on your mind, Bob?
So I'm continuing my working my way through Clone Wars. I am in season 7 now, and I just watched like 3 or 4 episodes with the Bad Batch, who are totally badass. I love those guys. It's a really good show. I enjoy it. I'm glad that I decided to finally sit down and watch it. Looking forward to seeing what comes next after Clone Wars is over and I jump into, I forget if it was Resistance or Rebels, whatever.
Rebels is the next one. My God, Rebels.
So that should be fun. But yeah, Clone Wars season 7 and the Bad Batch. The Bad Batch are great. I love those guys. Yeah. All right, Jerry, what about you?
I watched Hellstrom this week. Bob was watching it, and my wife was actually watching it in the other room, and she's like, "You got to see this show." So I watched it. And for those who are fans of Marvel Comics, it is the Damien Hellstrom, son of Satan / Satana, his sister, kind of modernized up and brought over to the small screen. I like it a lot. It's 10 episodes. Kind of peters out at the end. It has some issues, but if you like dark things like Supernatural or American Horror Story, or it reminds me a lot of Evil. I think other people brought that same comparison up. It's a lot of fun, and you get to see some very interesting and complicated characters. I'm looking forward to them doing a season 2. It's a lot of fun. So it was just nice to see. I kind of got sucked into it and binge watched it all day on Saturday. So
yeah, I saw that it was coming, and I'm not usually one for horror shows like American Horror Story and stuff like that, but I love Supernatural. And so I'm like, okay, demons and stuff like that. I'm like, and it's Marvel. So I'm like, hey, I'm going to give it a shot. And I'm 4 episodes in, and so far I'm really enjoying what they're doing. And it sounds to me like they suffer from the same thing that they do in all of these shows, is they put some arbitrary episode number on it, like let's do 10 instead of doing however many it takes to tell the story.
Yeah,
and then just saying, oh, we did 9 and that ends the story there. We'll do 9. No, they predetermine it in their mind, or the network says, hey, I want you to do 10, and then they end up padding somewhere that makes it like, why'd you do that? But
yeah,
Phil, what about you?
Played some Forbidden Lands on Sunday. You were in that game.
Yes, I was.
And a really interesting moment in that episode, in that session, where the rules for the game did this really interesting thing. So, long story short, you guys had captured this orc and had gotten some information out of him, and then we're like, well, we should probably waste this orc.
He was planning on doing it to us.
He was going to do it to you guys. He was clearly not good.
Yeah.
Okay. There's this is not like middle ground, not good. Like his purpose there, if he hadn't been passed out when you found him, would have been to sound the alarm and to attack you guys. So clearly not good. But in the game, there is a rule that in order to coup d'etat somebody, coup de grace. Sorry, coup d'etat.
Completely different.
I'm sorry. That's the thing. I'm obsessed. I know. I'm obsessed with overthrowing the current government. I'm sorry.
I'm always coup d'etating people, so it's not the same thing.
Coup d'etat. Yeah. So anyway, in order to kill this guy, you have to actually fail an empathy check.
Yeah.
So it comes around, and they're like, "Well, I guess we should just I guess we need to kill this guy." And so Bob's like, "All right, I'll do it. I got the lowest empathy," and then passes his check. And then Jim, who's like the actual assassin, is like, "I'll do it," passes his check. And then Glenn, who was like, "Oh, you guys gonna leave everything to me?" passes his check. And then they're like, "All right, let's just tie him up.
Let's just leave him.
Let's just like we can't do anything about it. Like, I guess we'll just have to tie him up and, so. But it was just this really interesting moment where the mechanics are like, look, you're inherently good guys. And while in other scenes you have been very, very good guys, this was a case where this guy was definitely going to be a problem if he was loose. He definitely had harmful intentions towards you. He was very clear about that. I didn't really have a problem that you guys were going to finish it off. But I also liked that the game was like, nah, you're not.
Yeah.
Like, nah, you're just like nobody had the internal resolve to finish him off.
Yeah. It's so fitting too, because the characters that we're playing, we're really not murder hobos. We're not just rolling around killing everything in sight and looting all the bodies and everything. We go out of our way sometimes to avoid running into things out in the woods, and we're just like, no, that's not what we're about. And while it would have been totally justified if he came at us with a sword, we would have cut him down in a second without a second's thought. But he was all trussed up. He was absolutely no danger in the moment. He was a helpless opponent, and we were like, nah.
And I kind of like that the game has a rule for that.
Yep.
Like, the game has a rule that's like, murdering helpless opponents is actually problematic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I like, it's not that you have to pass an empathy test. You have to fail the empathy check.
You have to fail the empathy check. You have to take a point of empathy damage, and you have to
spend a point of willpower. Right?
Yeah, all to do a coup de grace on a helpless opponent.
Yeah, it's actually like a bit of a telling statement about the game. So anyway, it was just this like really interesting moment. It was like, okay,
fine, I'll do it. Nope, no, I'm not. Okay,
I assume that at some point you guys all look like what really happened was like you all looked at each other, looked at the orc, and then were like, maybe we could just tie him up.
Yeah.
nobody had the internal resolve to do the job. You all thought it for a moment, but nobody carried it out. So yeah, that was good. And the rest of the game was good too. I mean, we are 33 sessions into that game. We're 33 sessions, and technically we barely started the campaign book.
Yeah.
I don't know how far we'll take that game. There's no indications it needs to stop at any time soon. Everybody's having fun.
Yeah.
So I just keep running chunks of it.
I have a feeling that at some point, and then we'll get on to the announcements. I have a feeling at some point we're all going to be like, this is a good stopping point. We're kind of itching for some of the new shiny.
Yeah.
Let's put it up on the shelf and go back to it later.
Yep.
Which, that's one of those games where I think it can survive the shelf and actually come back out without any trouble.
I will say this. If at some point we put the game up on the shelf and we play something new, it owes me nothing.
Yeah.
Like 33 sessions out of a game is pretty
I'm sure
epic.
We'll be beyond 40 before this thing gets put together.
Yeah. I really don't. I really have, you really have no issues with it. Chromatic Chameleon's asking which of the campaign books, the Raven's Purge.
Yeah, Raven's Purge.
Which I really like as a campaign book, but it's also enormous. like the amount of stuff to do in that game is a lot. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to announcements.
Yeah.
DS9 Watch Party, of course, continues. This week, we begin season 4, which
some good stuff.
Which I like to think that you got rid of Michael Pyler in season 2. Stephen Iron Bear takes over in season 3, but season 4 is like when they're just like when he like grabs the stick shift and like drops it, right? Like just boom.
Yep.
The show goes like season 3 is good, and there are a lot of good season 3 episodes. Yep. But season 4, this is exciting stuff. So anyway, we're starting season 4. It is a great jump-in point if you have watched the series before and you're like, hey, I think I'd like to join up. We're now into like the seriously good stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's where we are on that. Couple other announcements regarding shows that we will not be doing. First one is we will not be recording on election night.
No.
We made this mistake 4 years ago. It was very bad.
It was not a fun show to do.
It was not a fun show to do. So while I hope for a better outcome, I also don't want to be live on the mics.
Yeah.
During it. So we will not be recording on election night. Yeah. But please go and vote. Yes. We'll be back the following week. I'm sure you'll see us on Twitter. That kind of thing. So we're definitely, that is our election night non-coverage. Yes. And then the other thing that we have to talk about, we haven't actually settled out our dates yet, but just to give people a heads up, as we do over the past couple of years, we are going to take an end of the year hiatus. It will be very close to the beginning of Thanksgiving and will stretch through until almost the new year. We got some dates to work out, but it is as the holiday season advances and things get a little more bonkers. Also, so it's nice to take that break. Also, we've been going nonstop. I mean, we've only missed a week or two here and there. We've been going nonstop all year. So honestly, it is also really nice for us to unplug, kind of recover, recoup.
Under normal circumstances, it'd be like, let's take a little break and recharge the batteries and stuff. We've been going mostly nonstop through a pandemic and other stuff. And somehow we've managed to keep a pretty even keel. So it'll be, I'm not going to lie, when we have a couple of weeks where we're not doing the show, I'm probably going to be sitting there going,
I mean, I'm going to go hang out with you guys. We'll
probably Zoom call with each other or something.
Yeah, I mean, we could either Zoom call with people, watch parties, whatever. But we're just going to take a couple weeks off during the holiday season.
A few.
And I mean, it's going to turn out. I mean, listening during the holidays gets to be low anyway, but whatever. So we're definitely going to be doing that. I'll have more details as the three of us work out the dates. But traditionally, we stop the week before Thanksgiving because traditionally I leave Wednesday morning to go to my parents' house for Thanksgiving. That right now is up in the air as the governor has said no non-essential travel to Connecticcut. Yeah. So I'm not even 100% sure I can go to my parents' house for Thanksgiving. So that's a thing.
Yeah. Also, to be clear, while the show is going on hiatus and we will not be recording a podcast, the Deep Space Nine watch party will continue unabated.
Oh, right. Thank you. Right. That is not stopping. Yeah. So we will still have watch parties and we'll still be doing week after week. So yes. Thank you for that reminder. Good. Yes. So we'll have more details on that because we've got a couple weeks before we get to that. But I did want to mention the election night non-coverage because I do not want to be on the show and trying to skim election results and then trying to keep my shit cool if there's reasons not to keep my shit cool.
I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be clenched up that whole night.
I'm not even gonna. I'm gonna wait till the next day. I don't.
Even if I tried to keep away from all the news, I would still be clenched up the whole night.
No, I'm like, I'm like into this kind of deep. Like I'm down to like governor races, or not governor race, Senate races, and not as much as West Wing. There's a joke in West Wing about like them making bets on election night for all these like ridiculous like collections of races, trifectas of things.
All right.
Anyway,
shall we do a show?
Let's do it.
Okay.
All right. You know what this is? This is a workshop.
Oh. Yes.
And
go. Workshop. It's the conspiracies. They're out to get you. They're watching you. They're coming to clean up all the evidence, including you. It is the workshop, all about conspiracy.
And don't suck. All right.
So this is going to be our workshop, and this is going to be kind of a redo of the conspiracy episode we did back in 199. So we're going to start off by talking about conspiracies themselves, When I talked to Phil with the topic, he was a bit relaxed about it, saying that we'd done it before. But by before, we went back in episode 199, which was 4 years ago.
Long time.
So it's about time we come back and revisit the topic. And so we're going to take a new look at conspiracies based on one of the comments from, was it the Twitter page or was it from the Slack room? We had a question. Somebody asked us about conspiracies.
Honestly, I lost track. My apologies to whoever suggested it, but we still
apologies
appreciate
for not remembering, but we're happy that we're doing it.
Yep.
All right. Well, of course, to get started, you know what we need. We need Phil to do some definitions. So,
Behold, you are in the presence of Definition Panda.
dun dun.
Alrighty. So we do have a few definitions we need to cover tonight. So before I get into the definitions, so I have no concept of like how long things are when it comes to episodes. So the whole time I've been like, oh yeah, we did a conspiracy episode. We did a conspiracy episode 4 years ago.
That's like a bazillion years in podcast time.
Listen, people have listened to the show, stopped listening to the show. New people have listened to the show, stopped listening to the show, etc. Since the time that we've done this. So it is a perfect time to do the Redux. And in order to do the Redux, we're going to start with a few definitions, right? So let's start with some basics. A conspiracy, right? A secret plan by a group to do something unlawful or harmful. Okay, I'm going to unpack that for a second. Secret, of course, big word there. A plan, which means that there's some level of coordination going on there. A group, right? So not a sole person, a group of people acting in concert. Okay, and then doing something unlawful or harmful. I'm going to not push so heavily on those. In many cases, when we talk tonight, we're going to talk about conspiracies that are unlawful or harmful, but we'll actually talk about a way where it might be not as bad. So we'll talk about that because there's some ways that conspiracies can almost be good, but really what we're talking about, secret plan by a group. Okay. Secret planned group. Okay. Our group are our conspirators. Right? A conspirator is a person who takes part in the conspiracy, co-conspirators being the group of people, right? The co-conspirators. The cover-up, right? An attempt to prevent people from discovering the truth about a serious mistake or crime. Conspiracies often enact cover-ups. Again, secret plan, right? You have to emphasize the secret part. Conspiracy theory, which I'll throw out there. The belief that some covert but influential organization is responsible for a circumstance or event. There are, it can get pretty bad, right? On the light end of it, we could get to conspiracy theory like X-Files, like the lone gunman, guys. And, in truth, in reality, right now in 2020, right, conspiracy theory is an actual threat, to a lot of our safety. That QAnon nonsense, and I'm not going to say anything else about it, but, that level of conspiracy theory is a actual threat. Okay. But we're going to focus not on reality. We're going to be talking about role-playing games tonight.
Yep.
But I do want to kind of look at a couple of facets to conspiracy. When people talk about conspiracy in everyday life, it has a little bit of range of use, right? So in the smallest version of it, it could mean a group of people committing a single crime and covering it up, right? Maybe it's conspiracy to commit murder. Maybe a couple of people planned out a murder and then carried it out, right? It's a single event. It was covered up. It was done by a group of people and nothing else ever happened, right? That's a very small definition of conspiracy. On a larger scale, that's when we start to get into conspiracy theory land, right? Where groups like the Illuminati are pulling the strings of every facet of the government. My favorite line from the Cancer Man episode of X-Files, right? The Bills will never win the Super Bowl,
Yeah. While I'm alive, the Bills never win the Super Bowl.
Right? Like, just, again, those kinds of, that kind of level of involvement, right? Now, when we take it to RPGs and we're talking about conspiracies, we tend to be talking about the larger types of conspiracies, right? These secret organizations with their secret plans doing shady shit, which, what we're going to get into, can be pretty intriguing. So that's where we're going to keep our focus tonight, is one, strictly in RPGs, and two, looking at these more organized and larger conspiracies.
All right, then. With those terms covered, we need to look at the parts of a conspiracy. Jerry, what makes up a conspiracy?
All right, there's going to be a number of different parts of a conspiracy. At the very least, these should be known by the GM, but they can be discovered by the characters through play. So the first part is going to be the conspirators. And these are going to be the people or creatures that are involved in doing whatever is unlawful.
Yeah, they could be a cabal, they could be a secret society, a government agency, the board of a corporation, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Second thing you need to know is, what is their motivation? What is the reason that they're operating the conspiracy itself?
Yeah, they could be waiting for the end of the world. They could be the secret hand of power behind the scenes. They could be holding back the forces of evil.
Mm-hmm. And by that, understand that sometimes conspiracies are good, not evil.
Yeah.
And number three, what is their goal? They should have some sort of immediate goal or some sort of final goal.
Yeah, immediate goals are things that they're currently doing in the story that you're telling. Like maybe they're covering up a scientific discovery. Mm-hmm. And they could also have a final goal. Not every conspiracy is going to have a final goal. Sometimes some conspiracies are looking for a final event. Some conspiracies are just out there to maintain some set of order, right? Mm-hmm. If your conspiracy has a final goal, then it is a bigger thing that they are working towards, right? So maybe they're going to raise the lost king from the dead.
Mm-hmm. All right. The next thing is, what are the activities that the conspirators are doing? These are the illegal activities that the conspiracy does to achieve their goals.
Sure. So this can fall under any number of legal and illegal. I'm going to list a bunch of illegal ones, but there's lots of legal things they could be doing, right? They could be doing research. They could be interviewing people, but they could also be hacking, stealing, breaking and entering, intimidation, bribery, murder. Again, they're probably operating outside of conventional law.
And next, what is their cover? What is the seemingly normal thing the group is doing that's hiding the bad things they're doing?
And I don't always think that this one is completely necessary, right? Like they don't always have to have a front face. Like they could just be a shadowy secret cabal that no one ever talks about. But I like them better when they have a front face, right? So maybe they're a private think tank. Maybe they're a secret society, like we said. Maybe they're all members of a special country club, and like they meet in this dark paneled room in the back of the country club, the Palmer Room or something. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're just known as the Palmer Group, right? Nobody really knows, but they can definitely be completely hidden. But I love when there's like something on the outside.
The Diogenes Club.
Yeah.
From Sherlock Holmes. All right. So once we know what all these are, for a prep perspective, there we go, the GM should have some rough idea of what these are in their game. They don't need to be fully worked out, but you should have some idea. Like anything mysterious, consistency is important. It's worth putting a little bit of time into jotting a few notes down about each of these so that from week to week, things that you do stay consistent.
Absolutely. Phil, you and I have played a number of games with conspiracies over the years, and I know that's a thing that you love just as much as I do. What's the appeal of conspiracies?
Yeah, so I'm gonna just cite my own ideas on this. So take it with a grain of salt. Mm-hmm. But I like you said, we've played a number of games. Conspiracy X being one of them. Night's Black Agents, which I honestly think is the spiritual successor for play. Like I would play Knights Black Agents as Conspiracy X. Anyway, humans are creatures that love patterns. We love cause and effect, right? Like we really like, a lot of us thrive on the idea that for everything that we see, there's a cause for it. We're actually, by and large, uncomfortable with chaos. And conspiracies appeal to the belief that the world is not as simple and as random as it appears to be. Because simple and random is scary, right? Yeah. Like simple and random is just downright frightening. But a conspiracy that like tacks on a story to something gives our brains like something to latch onto. It gives us, a reason, a cause, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. I've always loved the what is the comment when somebody says, I think that the moon landing was a complete conspiracy, and you look at them and go, wait, you believe in the moon?
Yes.
So some of the things though are that we're always attracted to power of some sort, and a conspiracy is going to be something powerful. And as a result, because it's powerful, at the same time it operates outside the law and in secret, it's going to take quite a bit of power to do the things we talked about. And so we're going to use that power. We're going to have the fact that they're operating outside the law and the fact they're trying to stay secret. All that's going to tie together to make something that's much more of a mystery than just a straight bad guy that's out there or a straight good guy that's out there.
Yep. Conspiracies represent a form of hidden world. This is a term, I think I use it. I don't remember how widely other people use it, but I use this a lot. This is one of those reasons why I used to love World of Darkness and Conspiracy X, those kinds of things. A hidden world is, it is a world that is operating in parallel to our world, right? But it's operating on different rules. So like a conspiracy, like it might look like a group of people that, are meeting at a country club to play golf, but in reality, they're doing all sorts of other stuff, right? They're ordering hits on people. They're controlling the flow of information. They're deciding when the next iPhone will be released, whatever, right? But that is like a hidden world, right? Like when you pass by it, you're like, oh, there's the country club. And there's some people coming in and out the door, and unbeknownst to you, there's a whole other thing operating. And I, for one, love hidden world. I love hidden world content in fiction, in games. It is the number one reason why I love urban fantasy, right? I love, the idea that, I love the idea that the guy on the loading docks is actually a troll. Right. But like in Hidden World, he's covered up. Like we only see him as the big burly dude on the docks. But in truth, he's actually, a troll. And, when he's done working on the docks, he like goes and like, hangs out under the bridge or something because, he's a troll. Hidden World.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. And lastly, there are going to be mysteries. And our curiosity tends to enjoy mysteries. We want to explore them. We want to find out what they are. So adding conspiracy in gives the players something to try to decipher, get involved with, and solve.
Absolutely. So obviously there's a number of reasons that we enjoy conspiracies, and there are a number of ways we can use them in our games. Jerry, tell us about how a conspiracy can be a form of opposition.
Well, if you're going to use conspiracies as opposition, you can start out, they can be the main opposition in an adventure or arc or a campaign. They can be the main thing your characters are struggling against. In Knights Black Agent, it's going to be the vampires. In a game like Eberron, it might be one or more of the ruling houses or one of the Delkir. You can have any number of things that can be your main opposition for the game, pulling the strings in the background the players don't even find out about for a while. Number two, the conspiracy can target the players as enemies, and therefore they can oppose them in order to maintain the conspiracy. And this is a big thing.
Yeah, like the players could be a group of magical investigators, right, who discover a conspiracy of other mages who are using their magic to repress certain scientific discoveries about magic. And then having stopped the conspiracy from having stopped that, the conspiracy from repressing a certain discovery, now the conspiracy is turned their eye onto them, and now, regards them as a threat to maintaining their conspiracy.
Now, as an opposition, initially they're going to be like any other NPC. But as a conspirator, they rarely attack directly. Normally, they're going to heavily use intermediaries to carry out their actions, other enemies. And so in this role, the players are going to be poised to destroy the conspiracy, first by destroying its members or exposing it to the public, or some combination. They may start out with just the people that they're being sent against, find out more and more, and part of their plot could be to expose these conspirators or to stop them themselves. And lastly, the conspiracy can be part of an opposition for a single adventure, or it can be the main antagonist for an entire campaign. And basically, the only difference in this is when the characters will have the ability to confront or expose them. You could even have a conspiracy in a one-shot or a short story arc.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I will say, though, while you can do conspiracies for one shot, they'll be okay, right? And my advice for that would be just going off board for a second. Mm-hmm. If you're going to do a one-shot conspiracy, then either the thing that they're doing or the way they've covered it up has to be sufficiently evocative so that the players will have a vested interest in destroying the organization, right? So, for instance, they're shipping magical creatures they're shipping magical creatures in cargo containers to different countries, something like that, right? Like something sufficiently shocking so that in the one shot you could be like, that is terrible. We're we're definitely opposing these people. Mm-hmm. It's very clear cut. When you do it in a campaign or an arc, you can be a lot more subtle because you're going to have that opportunity to have multiple touch points and exposures. So you can have this conspiracy start really small. Maybe they've bribed a city clerk, and then you discover it's bigger than the city clerk. You've discovered that, it goes all the way up to the mayor. Maybe after a couple of encounters, you've discovered that the mayor isn't even the person who's part of the conspiracy. He's just a puppet to something, to this group called the Palmer, the Palmer group. Now, we're on to what's the Palmer group, right? And we're off, right? Yep. So in those cases, you can have that nice build up and slow burn to them. Mm-hmm. All right. So I just wanted to add that in as a tip if you're going to, because you totally can do a conspiracy in a one shot, but you got to jack up the emotional, volume on it. Investment. Yeah. Okay. Another way that you can use a conspiracy in your game is you can use it as a mystery. And in a lot of cases, your conspiracy as opposition and conspiracy as mystery can run as in parallel with the same conspiracy. So a conspiracy can also be an arc within a campaign, like discovering the secrets of a conspiracy can be an arc. In this form, right, the conspiracy, like I said, could be opposition, or it could be just a mystery unto itself, right? And the difference is that when a conspiracy is the opposition, it is directly targeting the characters and trying to keep it secret. And when it's a mystery, likely it is something that has been done in the past. It's not active, and thus it doesn't really take any actions to oppose the character.
For example, you have an adventure where years ago, the members of the town council banished a demon by locking it in a well. They covered up all evidence of it, so the town continued to be a tourist attraction, and people continued to come there. But now the character is investigating a series of murders, and in the course of their investigation, they discover that all the victims drank from that same well. So they're going to discover the conspiracy, how it came to be, what's evil about it, and the fact that the demon is still living below, and that they have to make the retired council members confess to what they did. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. But, maybe the council members aren't even aware that the investigators are searching, right? Like they've all just retired. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So in this case, as a mystery, the goal of the conspiracy is to be discovered and revealed. Whether that's the players discover it for themselves and they know what it is, or whether, you take it to the press and make it public, right? One way or another, the conspiracy gets revealed to someone. And in a lot of ways, this is just like kind of a regular mystery plot. It's just that how the mystery came to be, right? Like a group of people did something shady in secret and covered it up. And, the revelation that should come from this, right, is that the revelation is that the conspiracy covered up something, but often covering up makes things worse, right? Like, it's bad that you locked the demon in the well and didn't deal with it. It's worse that you built a pavilion for tourists to come hang out on top of it.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's always the part for the conspiracy is it takes the crime, but makes it worse when you cover it up. Okay.
Exactly.
And then, like opposition, the conspiracy could be done in a session, an arc, or a campaign. And the only thing that's going to control that is how you as the GM pace out your clues and where you kind of allow it to get to the critical mass of clues that reveals the conspiracy / mystery.
Mm-hmm. All right. So the next thing we're going to talk about are how to use conspiracies as allies. Because the characters can be part of the conspiracy itself. If the characters are agents of the conspiracy and work to propagate the conspiracy, they might be trying to advance its agenda. In this case, the conspiracy is going to be their ally and their patron. And the conspiracy will support and give the characters resources. In return, the characters are going to take actions for the conspiracy.
Yeah, I had a thing listed here, but I'm just going to go completely off board and talk about the game Conspiracy X, right? Okay. So Conspiracy X is exactly this. Conspiracy X is a game from the late 90s, originally from New Millennium Entertainment.
Yep.
And then purchased by Eden Studios. There's a second version of the game, but the first version is still the better version of the game. In that game, you belong to a conspiracy called Aegis, whose job is to combat aliens that are in the U.S. that have infiltrated various levels of the government. And you are doing this all behind the scenes so as not to panic the populace that there are aliens, et cetera, et cetera. And you are, quote, the good guys. I will use quotes. Yep. You are, quote, the good guys. But you operate outside the law. And you often break the law in order to maintain the conspiracy. We played this game heavily in the late 90s. Yep. I think we played it for 2 years straight or something. Wow. Bob can tell you that there were plenty of illegal things Bob did, and several immoral things Bob did.
My character. Several illegal and immoral things my character did.
His character did.
Just to be clear.
Yes.
Jack Spencer, not necessarily a good guy.
He was fighting the righteous cause, but...
He was definitely, those characters were definitely like the, the agent in Serenity.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
Like, there's no going home for this character.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so you can have games where you are an active part of the conspiracy. I will say, it is doubtful if you're doing it as a conspiracy that you are, quote, the good guys. You are definitely not the white hats.
Yeah.
You are probably gray at best for that kind of game. Go ahead, Joe. Continue.
All right. So part of what's going to determine this is what kind of conspiracy the characters are part of. This is going to have a big effect on the tone of the game. For the majority of the game, the conspiracy should remain intact, but the changes in beats threatening the conspiracy or even exposing part of it can make for great adventures. Characters who play in this kind of game are likely to have their own challenges, such as having a normal life, trying to hold secret identities, etc. And a good example of this today would be the Rippers game, where the players are part of a secret organization in Victorian Europe trying to hunt down monsters while trying to keep their own organization secret.
Is it a good example?
It's a good example. Well, as written as a campaign, it's a good example. The plot point adventure, not so much. Not so much. But the concept behind Rippers is good. The adventure they wrote, not so much. But that's kind of the problem with plot point adventures in general. They don't tend to have a lot of role playing potential. So it tends to be go here, kill something. Oops, you've been exposed. Go here, kill something. Oops, you've been exposed. So, all right. So either way, though, you have to look at this as a conspiracy that you can be part of the conspiracy and be the good guys, be the gray hats, or even find out that you are the bad guys later on. So that's part of the fun of it. All right.
Good stuff. Let's take a break now and check in with the chat room to see what they have to say, and then we can get on to the round table. But first, let me tell you about She's a Super Geek. She's a Super Geek is an Emmy-nominated actual play RPG podcast highlighting women as GMs. Join them every other Tuesday for lots of different RPGs and guests.
And Thirsty Sword Lesbians.
Yes,
playing right now.
Lesbians.
That's right. That's right.
Look forward to that. All right, so in the chat room,
yep,
we had some good stuff.
I saw this question. Yep.
Our good friend Andy, the crafty DM, Professor Fox, said that one of the important things to remember is that most of the conspirators believe what they're doing is right or good. Mm-hmm. Or at least they start out thinking that way. Even the bad guys, they think they're doing the right thing. They think they're on the righteous side or the good side.
If you are a fan of the X-Files, the one episode where you kind of see the world from the cigarette smoking man, or AKA Cancer Man, and you see his life, like he believes he is on the right side of this.
Sure does.
Oh,
something like this. Sorry.
I was going to say, I will name a conspiracy movie where the players are definitely good, but still meets all the levels of conspiracy, which is Men in Black.
Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Men in Black is a definitely lighter version. Yeah. And I say lighter because the flashy thingy, right? The flashy thingy is the thing that allows them to not kill people.
Yeah. Yeah, like, they've got a situation where they've been exposed. They don't have to grease anybody. They can just be like, oh, those memories are gone. Ooh, neuralizer.
Yeah, it's a really cute little tool, but it allows you to have a pretty serious conspiracy and a pretty active effort to maintain it without disappearing people.
We should also specify we're talking about Men in Black, the movie and the cartoon series. Not the comic books, but they were much darker characters.
Sure.
I've never read the comics, but yeah, that's an excellent one.
Okay.
I had a lot of problems with the Men in Black movie when it came out because we were neck deep in playing Conspiracy X. And when it came out, I was like, what the shit is this? Like this sugar-coated candy, like in retrospect, having gone back and watched the movie a bunch of times, like later, I actually really enjoyed it. Yeah, I enjoyed the first one quite a bit.
Yeah.
I still haven't seen the third one all the way through.
I actually like the first one and the third one. The second one, not so much. But I think the third one has some good stuff in it. Yeah. So,
are there any other questions? I saw one.
Another good question.
We've got a really good one. Our good friend Jason, who is contacting us from 2 DS9 seasons in the future.
Yes.
Asked us, where's the line between conspiracy and revolution?
Well, I think go ahead. I think that there's an overlap between them.
I agree.
I don't. Not all revolutions are conspiracies, and not all conspiracies involve a revolution.
Let's go back.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, let's go back up to the definition, right? Conspiracy is a secret plan by a group to do something unlawful or harmful. And again, I softened the unlawful or harmful, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But in order for a revolution to be a conspiracy, it would need to be a secret plan by a group. And you could definitely have a conspiracy that is a hostile takeover of a government, right? For good or for bad. But it's definitely not in the street not an in the street protest, right? Because that is not.
With signs.
Yeah.
No, that's a different thing. I would say For example, the rebels in Star Wars are definitely not a conspiracy. And neither is the Empire, because they're out in the open about it.
Correct.
I think that for a revolution to be a conspiracy, it would have to be in secret, hiding from just about everybody.
Yes.
Yep.
Definitely doable.
Definitely doable.
It's definitely doable. It'd be, you could do, like, for instance, you could do a cyberpunk conspiracy of a corporation secretly having a revolution to take over the government.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So the Bajoran resistance was in no way secret. I mean, they were openly opposing the Cardassians. The Cardassians knew about them, and I think that they're not really a conspiracy. Even though what they're doing is unlawful, they weren't secret.
So this is, they were secret in who they were. I will say, all right, so this is, all right, remember when we got to the beginning of the episode, I said that there are different kind of sizes of conspiracy, right? The Bajoran resistance doesn't fall into like the Illuminati, right? Like they're not a secret organization manipulating things. They're a guerrilla warfare. The Bajoran resistance is a guerrilla warfare faction. They are people who are defending their homeland by causing terrorist actions against an occupier who is on their land, right? That's guerrilla warfare. They definitely engaged in conspiracies, right? They definitely did stuff in secret. They also did stuff overtly. This is so did they practice a conspiracy? At times they definitely did. Are they a conspiracy like the Illuminati? No. In DS9, and I'm not going to give too much detail away, but knowing that Jason is 2 seasons in the future, there is a conspiracy that is a better definition of a conspiracy in DS9 that is not the Bajoran resistance.
Right.
And I think Jason probably has already encountered them.
Yes, I think that's what he was asking about. So
has a number.
Yeah. Let's not say any more about it.
Nope. That is a actual conspiracy. Yes. And again, this gets into that fuzzy thing. Like we were in the beginning of the episode, we were focusing on the idea of secret organizations that have machinations and that are pulling strings and stuff like that. But for sure, a guerrilla movement will engage in some level of conspiracy.
So here's a question that Spitty brought up. So was Palpatine in Star Wars a conspiracy? And I'm wondering, because he operated by himself. The entire conspiracy was him.
Yeah, he wasn't a conspiracy because he didn't have co-conspirators, right? He didn't have a group. He definitely was doing, his shit was covert, right? Like, yes. But a conspiracy is the act of bringing a group together.
I will argue that he had co-conspirators.
Oh, Jason, I think, has a better description. Darth Sidious was a conspiracy. Yeah. But even, like, the Trade Federation dealt with Darth Sidious.
Yeah.
Yeah, except you're never quite sure, was Dooku in on all of it?
I mean, Dooku was in on almost all of it.
Oh, I think I have no problem believing Dooku was in on the whole thing. But I think he chose
poorly.
But here's the thing. Darth Sidious definitely engaged in conspiracy because the Trade Federation and all of those guys, like, he worked with them to destabilize the Republic.
Yeah.
But, and this is the onion part of conspiracies, right?
Mm-hmm.
The thing that the Trade Federation never figured out is that Darth Sidious isn't actually the real, like, it's not truthfully the whole story, right?
Yes.
So Palpatine is an individual pulling all the strings. Darth Sidious creates a conspiracy with the Trade Federation and the the droids, whatever, to
and the secret plan to create clones and use them as a Republic army until it was time to flip the switch.
I mean, he entered into a conspiracy with the people on Camino. Like the thing with Palpatine is that Palpatine was running a number of conspiracies. Not all of them were aware of each other.
Nope.
Right?
See, I don't think the Trade Federation was a conspiracy. They were overtly doing what they did. I wouldn't consider them a conspiracy. There was nothing that they were doing. Even the people at the top, there was nothing they were doing that was in
just
secret.
because
but nobody knew about Sidious. Nobody knew about Sidious, but just because they were working with somebody who was in the dark, the Trade Federation and the leaders of the Trade Federation were in no way, shape, or form being secretive or anything else in the background with what they were doing. I will argue that there's a piece that we don't know from the prequels, which is we don't know how all of it came together, right? So if Sidious approached the Trade Federation and a few others and was like, hey, I got a plan, and it starts with you guys blockading Naboo, that's a conspiracy. What the Trade Federation winds up doing is actually out in the open, and then they basically just go to war, right?
Yeah.
Also out in the open. But what we never see, because we don't see what happens just before episode 1, is we don't really see how, like, it's conceivable, and I think it's probable, that Sidious approaches the Trade Federation and is like, hey, I see that you're annoyed. I have a deal for you. Like, I can help you get what you want, right? Like, we're just going to do this like little secret shit, but you're going to go do this thing, which is you're going to go blockade Naboo, which is his long game of knocking over the first domino that gets him to destabilize the Republic and open the door for him to bring in clones. And for them, they're like, oh, we're getting some help to finally stick it, to the Republic or to Naboo or whatever.
Except that what they did blocking Naboo, it's messy because what they did in blocking Naboo, though, wasn't illegal. Technically, nothing the Trade Federation did was illegal according to the way the Republic laws were set up at the time.
Right. Yeah. I think it has all to do with how all of that gets stirred up, right? Because here's the thing. A good conspiracy doesn't always have to operate illegally, right? Or it can look like it's operating legally. For instance, your money laundering part of your conspiracy is a charity, right? Yeah. Like, it looks legal on the surface, but its output is illegal, underneath.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely some interesting ground to cover. I mean, I think ultimately when you get to it, though, really Palpatine's just pulling everybody's strings, right? He basically screws the Trade Federation because he knows the entire time he's going to pound them with the clones, right? Like, he has no plans from the time he starts talking to them to let them survive.
No.
Right? Like, if it wasn't Anakin that was going to kill all of them, it would have been Darth Maul.
Yeah.
Right? If those pesky kids hadn't stopped him in the first movie, like, Darth Maul would have gone and murdered all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he was more puppet master with some conspiracy stuff as part of his plans, but definitely more puppet master. Yeah, we're still doing phrasing. Pound him with clones.
I mean, puppet master is another one, right? Like, that's probably a type of opposition we could talk about one day. The puppet master is a
let's save that for a show.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We should probably put that in the notes one day. Like, puppet master would be an interesting type of opposition.
Ding.
A series on oppositions might be fun.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, that might be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. So, with that all said, let's jump back into the round table. Get all King Arthur on this thing.
Yeah.
Phil, lead us off with the first question.
Sure thing. Question number 1. Name a favorite conspiracy in a game you have run or played in, and why did you like it so much?
This was a really tough one for me, and I had to think about it a long time. Because as a player, I can think of only one game that I've been in where I think had a true conspiracy that I actually enjoyed. Most of the GMs I've played with over the years, and understand that I've never played in any of these grand conspiracy games that Bob and Phil are talking about.
Man, I would have loved to have had you back then.
My GMs either avoided them or they went on way too long, and I lost interest in the conspiracy entirely. And that just got to be because it didn't. And there's the thing about we're talking to the next. I'm going to answer this part to the next question. I think the closest I've come, Chris Van Eberron game recently, and it was a ton of fun. and there were lots of convoluted and complicated plots, lots of enemies with multiple agendas. There were secrets and mysteries. I asked Chris, and he said he thinks by our definitions, they might be a conspiracy. He didn't actually think of it as a conspiracy either, but by definition, but it was a lot of fun. There were definitely some people working behind the scenes to do different things. I'm not sure if there were any groups that were working behind the scenes themselves. It was often it was very much the Palpatine thing again. It was one or two people at the top trying to enact things and sacrificing their minions to do so.
Yeah, it was probably in that gray area on the border of conspiracy.
And I've run a few conspiracies back in the day, but up until recently, I haven't had players who were very invested in them. So the games were always short-lived, and I just refocused the campaign on something else. So I'm not really sure I've had I don't think I've actually played in a truly dedicated conspiracy game that was fun, or that the conspiracy part was fun.
Yeah.
I've been in games that were conspiracy-oriented, and we just hijacked it and took it someplace that was actually fun to do. So we'll talk about that in a later question also. So that was me. Bob?
Yeah, so I'm not sure that I could pick just one conspiracy. Because Phil's Conspiracy X game was loaded with some glorious conspiracies. And let me just say that one of the best parts of the conspiracies that Phil ran for that game was his skill at grabbing headlines from disparate sources and laying them down on the table and looking at them and going, all right, I'm going to connect these three things, and weaving this intricate plot through them. And it's just like, wow, where did that come from? You have a devious mind, my friend, and you have a gift for that.
Thank you.
But out of all of those, one of my favorite ones was, I think, the first conspiracy we did, and that was Lot 9 from the pharmaceutical company Eli Lilly. And Lot
yes,
was,
for all legal purposes, a fictitious Eli Lilly
company called Eli Lilly. Yeah.
Well, yes.
And that was a combat drug that they were experimenting with.
Yes.
Yeah, and there was a lot of fun sessions that came out of that.
It was a combat drug they were testing by introducing it into the water filters of schools.
Yeah.
And then looking for upticks in school violence.
Which there's a lot of triggery stuff there now, based on everything that's happened since we ran that game.
Yeah. I mean, and it was triggery, to be honest.
Sure,
it was triggery when I came up with that. Conspiracy, because it was in the late 90s, so that is very much the time. But it was the idea that the bad guys were basically testing, and it was called Lot 9 because it was the lot that produced the highest levels of violence.
And I think, to our credit, while we had violence in schools as a result of that drug, we did a real good, using today's terms, I think we veiled most of it.
In fact, we actually, I don't think ever used any of the, I mean, you guys never confronted anyone in a school.
Yeah. So, I mean, we did a real good job, without even thinking about it, probably, or subconsciously, just like, we don't need to go there to do this story, so we didn't do it.
No, you investigated all the pieces. Yep. I think you found your way into that conspiracy from another angle.
I think
you were following it when you discovered that that's how they were testing it.
Yeah.
Like, I think you had hacked something and discovered the test results, and then were like, sufficiently appalled by what happened that, I don't think all the conspirators lived.
I'm pretty sure we cleaned that up.
I'm pretty sure a lot of those conspirators, no one made it to trial, and I don't think all of them made it to a prison. So, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that game was nothing but conspiracies. And the thing that Bob's talking about, and this was the thing I did for Conspiracy X, was I would go at the time to Yahoo News, because that's how old this game was.
Yep.
And I would go get 3 random news articles. Didn't even matter. Just go randomly pick them. And then I would string a conspiracy theory that explained how each one of them was connected to the other one. And then I would give them the mission based on Aegis would be like, these 3 articles popped up and we're a bit suspicious about something going on. Go investigate. And then they would uncover all the things that happened. I guess for my choice, since I won't pick Conspiracy X, I will pick my other favorite conspiracy game, which was Knights Black Agents. I like Knights Black Agents a whole bunch. And our initial conspiracy for that game had to do with this woman who was trafficking blood through Europe to feed vampires. And it was all under the guise of an investment company. She looked like she was the salesperson for an investment company, and she would travel on this route from, I think it was like Croatia through Paris. And really what she was doing was transporting blood to make sure that vampires stayed fed all through those countries. But in truth, she was a blood runner.
Okay.
And the players catch wind of her. I'm trying to remember how you initially catch wind of her, but I remember in our murder board, the game started with a picture of her. I found this picture of this woman on the internet that I thought was relatively mysterious. And I forget her name. I think it started with a Z, but the whole game was like focused on who is this woman? Like, why does she keep appearing in places? Like, what's going on? And like, the more and more they uncovered, I think at the beginning, you thought she was a human trafficker.
Yeah.
And then, because it's Knights Black Agents, we go from, oh, this is human trafficking to what the hell is this? Like, I think you uncovered a vampire cathedral in the catacombs of Paris.
Yep.
Which was badass.
It was a good time.
yeah. It was good. The murder board for Knights Black Agents was electronic.
Yeah. There was a website that let you create virtual whiteboards.
I almost think
it still exists.
I bet it still exists. Like it never canceled out the account or something. But yeah, like I really, I don't know. I've always enjoyed making conspiracies. I have a lot of fun of hiding. I love Hidden World, so I love hiding these things. I love hiding these things into what looks seemingly like the everyday innocent things, and then as you like flip over the rock, you're like, nope, this is pretty bad. And then it's in Knights Black Agents, nope, it's way worse than you think.
Yep.
Like, you were a spy, you've just uncovered a vampire cathedral. Like, it's way worse than you think it is.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right, what's our next question?
All right. What is your biggest challenge in running or playing a conspiracy? Phil?
I would say the biggest challenge is rate of burn, which is how you need to. So, and if you've watched the X-Files, you also know this. You need to let the players uncover and disrupt a certain amount of the conspiracy, but if it goes too fast, they will zip through it and you will be done. And if it goes too slow, they will either lose interest or it's frustrating. Yep. So you need to let them, you need to let them uncover stuff and then have a setback. Like, there's a lot of pacing that goes into a good conspiracy. And I would say that Knights Black Agents had an awesome tool for this called the Conspiramid, which was a pyramid that you arranged items or groups and people on that were at different tiers of the conspiracy, and it gave the GM a way to kind of look at this group gets you to this next person, that kind of thing, and you could use it as kind of a tool to see how quickly, not only how quickly the players were moving up the Conspiramid, but it had actions that at different tiers the Conspiramid would take. Mm-hmm. So like at the bottom level, like they don't do much to you, but like above a certain level, killing you is not off the table. Yeah. Right. So it helped with mapping it. it also helped with pacing it. And rate of burn is definitely the challenge.
Mm-hmm. Bob?
Yeah, so as a player, I would say my biggest challenge would be maintaining the disconnect between player knowledge and character knowledge. I know there's been times where I have personally kind of figured out what the connection is and was like, aha, like I know what's going on. But my character wouldn't have at that point. They didn't have enough information yet, or they weren't capable of putting the pieces together for whatever reason. I personally have gotten really good over the years at keeping that disconnect. But there's going to be times, especially in a mystery or a conspiracy, where you have that aha moment and you're like, whoa, and the ding goes off. And you got to take a second and be like, okay, wait, don't get too excited. Does your character have that same ding? Otherwise, you got to back off a step and be like, all right, put that away, pretend I didn't figure it out, and just go with what the character's got. That, for me, would probably be the toughest part.
For me, I have two things. As a player, you've got to feed me when I'm playing a conspiracy. If it goes on for too long without some meaningful successes and reveals, then I get frustrated as opposed to being interested. This is part of why the X-Files never really appealed to me. Not that it's not a good show, just it was way too slow with giving me anything to care about. And I think of also like the 90s Ghost Rider, when they had the one who was on the motorcycle that was not Johnny Blaze. Like every 2 or 3 months, it was going to be, we're going to give you the big secret about Ghost Rider because we know he's not Johnny Blaze's Ghost Rider. And the reveal would be, he's not Wolverine. Or, the big secret is, he's not Mephisto. And they never, 2 years in, they didn't give you what his origin was. And a year, and I'm like, I don't care anymore. That's not a conspiracy to me anymore. It's just them, kind of dicking you along. And that can be a problem. There's also a problem when I get a conspiracy in the wrong game. Unless your goal is to make the players distrust everybody, you've got to make certain that there are people that players can trust who are absolutely not part of the conspiracy. If you don't do that, they just start distrusting everybody. And then, now there are games where that works, but in the wrong game, that just slows your game to a crawl. And this is what's happening in our Rippers game, where basically we just assume that everybody's a bad guy, or they're incompetent, one of the two. And that happens. If I'm running a game with a conspiracy, I make sure it's partially out in the open to the PCs by the third or fourth adventure. They know something's going on, and they have some piece to latch onto for it.
So here's the thing.
Ahead, Phil. You look like you want to say something. Go for it.
Yeah, here's the thing that X-Files, I think, did a really good job of, which is, so there was the big conspiracy, right? The Cancer Man. But Mulder and Scully always had they had a helper that was like the good conspirator, right? So, trying to remember, Deep Throat, and then I forget if he had a different, if the other guy had a different code name. Do you remember, Bob? Where are my X-Files wonks? Anyway, so the idea was that if you were playing Mulder, right, everything looks now super shady, and you start jumping at shadows, right? Like, is everything part of this conspiracy? But it was like Deep Throat's job to be like, this is the conspiracy. This is just normal life. His job was to kind of help level out help level out Mulder, and also to give Mulder like some hope that because that's the other thing I think you have to run up against in conspiracies is hopelessness.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this thing's too big. How are we? Yeah, the frustration. Exactly. Yeah. Right. So Deep Throat's job was to kind of keep Mulder going. Sorry, I just wanted to.
Yeah.
No, that's okay. Because there are ways, like in a game like Call of Cthulhu or Cyberpunk, you might want to have that level of frustration and terror where you can't trust anybody. But I'll give you, for example, the Eberron game I'm running on Sunday nights. There are several powers interested in one of the party NPCs, including her employer sponsor. There's a conspiracy going on, a couple of them actually. And the party knows what everybody's interested in, but not what the various powers actually want to do with her. And so there's still a mystery to conspiracy, but the players have some idea who they can trust. They know, at least at this point, that her sponsor employer has some secret agenda, but that he doesn't intend the party or the NPC harm. There are other people that are actually out there that have another agenda that they're beginning to uncover that's a little different, but they have some people they can trust and work with. And every couple of adventures, we dwell out a little bit more about what's going on and what's there. I think if you don't give your players enough information, at least as a player myself, I get to the point where I'm just like, I don't care. Let's just start blowing stuff up, and you have to keep moving things forward. So that's what I think is the stumbling block is, like Bob said, that giving enough information without giving too much out at once. So.
Yeah. And I think that there's a piece that you touched on that's also important is that, and this is the thing that Knights Black Agents does really well, is that you have to be able to destroy parts of the conspiracy, right? Yes. So at some point you get to take out one of the bottom tier operations, and that's a victory, right? Like, we go back to Rocky IV, right? Like, if it bleeds, is that Predator, right? If it bleeds, I can kill it.
We can kill it.
That's right. I'm like, Rocky IV apparently is a much cooler movie than I knew about.
Oh no, Rocky IV is good because he cuts him, and that's how Rocky knows he's going to beat him. But the point being is that if you go up against, and I think this is actually the where X-Files did not do a good job, is that every time Mulder got a peek behind the curtain snapped shut. Like every victory, like there was never a victory for Mulder. Like he got a peek and then they took it away from him.
And I swear sometimes those peaks were engineered just to keep him on the hook.
Yes, exactly. I'm not even 100% sure all of them were legit. But in Knights Black Agents, like you are expected to start dismantling the conspiracy. And that will help ease the frustration. Like you actually have done something good.
Yep.
You've made some progress on it. And again, because think about it, we talked about midway into the topic, that if you think of the conspiracy as opposition, think about like a dragon that you fight and never harm.
Yeah.
Like you've had multiple encounters with it. Every time you attack it, you do no damage. It slaps you around and then it leaves. Like you will not be interested in fighting this dragon. Right. But if like on the second time you fight it, you injure it and it leaves. Now you're like, hold up. Yes, it's tough, but we can chip away at this thing.
Yep.
And that will keep you on the hook.
There you go. All right.
Cool.
Okay.
We got off the track a little bit there. Where are we?
Question 3.
All right. We're time for question 3. Woohoo. All right, what is your secret sauce for running a conspiracy? Don't say sriracha.
No, my secret sauce is definitely, I like making my conspiracies look like everyday things. I do not put my conspiracies, in dark corners and cover them up for no one to see. I like my conspiracies, it's a charity, but it's secretly laundering money to a cabal of wizards, right? Like it's an app, but it's collecting all your information and sending it, to the Palmer group who's using it to, decide, how to influence, what the next big, entertainment item is going to be. Like what I want you to discover when you're playing a conspiracy with me is I want you to discover something that looks seemingly innocent. And when you flip that rock over, you are reviled by what happened, like what it really is. That is absolutely 100% my secret sauce is putting my conspiracies out in plain sight. Also, I want you to freak out because if this charity if this charity is secretly funneling money to the Wizards, like what other thing do you like, enjoy, love, support, whatever? And how do you know that's not doing something
all of a
nefarious?
sudden the wheels are turning and now you're like,
exactly. That is my that is for sure my secret sauce.
All right.
Cheer.
For me, it's going to depend a little bit on the game. Like I said before, always give somebody they can trust. Depending on the game, make the conspiracy obvious to the players at some point, even if it isn't obvious to the rest of the world. Those of you who played our one Metal Fire game know that Nazgard is one of the big bads, but everybody thinks they're good guys except for the heroes. Always make certain that you, as the GM, know what the primary goal and the secret of the conspiracy is, so that you can adapt it. Because the second thing is you need to be flexible. Your players will upset the conspiracy plan, and they completely short-circuit their goals. And if they do, let them. Don't be afraid to have the conspirators fail. You may have to shift the goal. You may have to step up the timeline. You may have to jump over story plots, or even have the goal end early and move on to something else. But be prepared with all of that and have some idea in mind of what you want to do. But don't make the players ever feel like their efforts are not having a tangible effect. So otherwise, there's no reason to keep going with the conspiracy.
So I'll tack on a piece of advice because what you said was really good. So this is tangential to conspiracies because I think it actually fits better to a puppet master or mastermind. But I had this D20 Modern game where there was this puppet master who was, oh God, I don't remember, the wolf, right?
Yep,
Bob?
the wolf.
The wolf. And he was basically extorting criminals in Las Vegas in a pyramid scheme. Unbeknownst to everybody, the wolf was actually the chief of police. And basically you paid into this like pyramid scheme, you paid some tribute and, he made sure that, none of your charges really stuck. None of your investigations really, took root or whatever. But the players freaked this guy out and spooked him. And I was like, we were in the middle of a session and I was like, the next move this guy has to do is to burn his organization to the ground.
Yep.
Before the players can find out any more information. And I could have tried winging it, but I was like, no, this guy is known from the beginning this was going to happen.
He would have a
one
plan.
Day, right, he had to have a plan for this, like what to do. And there's no way I can do it justice on the fly in the middle of the game. So I just stopped the game. Like 2 hours into a 4-hour session, I was like, well, that's not where I thought the game was going. So we're done for today. Like, let's just go hang out and play poker or whatever. But like, we're done because what happens next, the wolf is way more prepared for than Phil is prepared for.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. And that was perfectly valid.
And then I took 2 weeks to come up with his plan. And then when we resumed play and he initiated his plan, all hell broke loose.
Yep.
It was glorious. Like he burned his organization very carefully to the ground. I highly recommend when you're setting up your conspiracy, use parolees. You can revoke their parole and send them right back to prison without a trial. It's very convenient very convenient way to legally disappear people in a conspiracy.
Yeah. And my last thing is, other than that, whatever your organizational skills are, like I like to keep note cards with primary goals, events, conspirators, so I can keep them organized. Whatever your organization takes, you need to be better organized to run a decent conspiracy than you would in a standard just dungeon crawl campaign or romantic drama campaign. You need to have lots of things involved.
Yeah, if you want to do it right, you gotta prep.
You gotta do some work. It is a heavier. It's like a mystery, right? Like it like a mystery is the same way. You got to do a little extra prep. You got to do a little. You're gonna have to do some note taking. And I think you hit on it before, right? You need it to be consistent.
Yep.
And I think that in the end of the day, though, that effort is going to pay off and make it worthwhile.
Yeah.
Some of the conspiracies that I ran in the past didn't work because I didn't have as much of I didn't put as much time and thought into organizing them as well and tying them into players and characters that had tight groups. And you need to also analyze your group a little bit. If you've got a group of players who don't take an active interest in each other's backstories, a conspiracy isn't going to work as well either. And that might just be the wrong story for them because they're not gonna grab onto the threads and hooks. And I've played for different groups over the years. And the groups I've got now are good, but some of the groups I've played for in the past didn't get involved with the other characters in their group or things that weren't directly about their character. And when that happens, they're not going to follow conspiracies along because the minute it's not about their character, they're going to just kind of fall back and follow a different plot. So you got to pick your battles with some of these things, or tell people up front what you're looking for. It's easier now. I've got much better players now.
Definitely.
So, all right. Okay. I think that concludes our discussion about conspiracies, though. It's really good.
Yeah, we hope that next time you need to build or run a conspiracy that our advice will help you out.
All right. Let's check in one more time with the chat room, and then we can head out to the conversation corner. First, I'd like to say that our good friend Sean P. Kelly from Gaming and BS has popped into the chat room and has been chatting with everyone.
All righty. Hey, Sean.
And I just rolled past the, we got Christopher CGM. Is that, I'm drawing a huge blank and I feel like a total terrible human being. Oh, man. But yes.
We're surviving out there, Sean.
Yep.
We have a great question from Vampire54, Donnie Harville. Any tips if you take that 2 weeks and then come up blank or short, or you might feel like it's all too cliche?
That's
a toughie.
It's a toughie. I mean, again, I don't always think cliche is the worst thing, right? Like,
no.
If it feels like a conspiracy to your players because it is a conspiracy, that's not the worst thing. I don't always 100% originality is not always what it's cracked up to be, right? Yeah. It's almost always more work than it needs to be. Coming up blank is harder.
Yeah.
Coming up blank, the best advice I can give you is like if you like conspiracies, or if you have a few favorite conspiracy movies, like kind of watch them and see the things that they do. I would highly discourage looking at real conspiracy theories. Don't the knockoff effect and damage you could do to yourself.
You're
not
rolling for sanity damage. If you
right. Watch. I don't even want to recommend it because of who's in it. But Conspiracy Theory was pretty good. You know what? I don't even want to recommend it. Go watch X-Files. Go watch season 1 X-Files.
Yeah.
For some inspiration. Stay out of don't season 1, season 2 maybe. Don't drift too far into it. I think the drawing blank is the hard part. Now, if I had drawn blank on what to do with the wolf, I don't know what I would have done.
You probably would have asked somebody that wasn't in the game.
Yeah, I mean, having a GM confidant is really good for these things, right? Like, find somebody on Twitter that and run it past them, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I if you come up with something and you're like, oh, that's kind of cliche, like it's okay. I mean, to some extent, characters like cliches.
Cliches and tropes are there for a reason.
Yeah, there's a reason why they are.
Yep. Cool. All right.
I've wanted to use real conspiracies and make them real. Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
No, that's totally fun.
Like people think it's a conspiracy. Well, it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in Conspiracy X, Area 51 is actually the home of Aegis.
Yeah.
Right? So, that one's already its own conspiracy.
Yep.
I had one. I remember it was content wise. I wanted to do a post 9/11 one that the conspiracy took place on 9/11 in the midst of everything else that happened, and I was like, I can't.
Yeah.
I can't run it. It was a great idea, and I think it would have come off really well. But I was like, it wasn't the time. Yes, real conspiracies can be. Yes, again,
there's a lot of.
Again, I do not recommend wading into actual conspiracies.
Yeah,
they are
you're gonna regret it if you go down that hole.
It's really it's really gross. It's really gross stuff. Fictional conspiracies.
Yeah, fictional conspiracies are great. So that all being said, relevant to the previous conversation about the murder board for the Knights Black Agents campaign,
Yeah.
I'm looking at an email in my Gmail account from February 19th, 2015.
Yeah.
Where Phil invited us all to a website called Lino. It's a virtual corkboard. And I went right to the link he had and logged in because I used a shitty password that I didn't care about. And I logged right in. And I'm looking at it and I'm going, oh yeah, baby.
I'm going to go log in right now because I'm fairly certain I would use the same. Oh, it had login with Google? Oh, good chance I logged in with Google. Let's see.
Yeah. Zora was the name of the woman.
Zora.
Oh, this is some...
Oh, there it is. Knights Black Agents.
This is some good stuff, man.
We'll post a link in the show notes.
This is glorious.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, 2015. You know how long ago that was? That was like 1,000 years in COVID time.
At the time when we did the last...
In the before time.
Right?
Good times.
That's hilarious.
Unfortunately, that game kind of imploded on itself. But.
Well, that had a really weird moment. Yeah. That was the death knell of... that was the death knell to that group.
Yeah, that group broke up.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
We dispersed it.
No, it wasn't.
Oh.
There were some play style
there's some things that needed
in that.
There were some things that needed to happen that at the time I wasn't At the time I wasn't super brave enough to confront, and so it went its way. Oh yeah, Phil, heavy use of Google Photos.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Good times.
Good times. Oh man, this is good stuff.
Yeah, Phil's gonna ride the nostalgia train for the rest of the night.
I gotta get back to work.
Corner.
Yeah.
With a little sound that only you guys can hear, and me. All right, conversation corner where we talk about that other stuff. I will kick us off. This past week again was full game week. I had the podcast on Tuesday, then I had a Wednesday night game, a Thursday night game, a Friday night game, and a Sunday night game. So all kinds of gaming going on. Our Thursday night DCC adventure ended with a bang. We had a nice combat with the big bad, and then everybody leveled up to level 4. Woo!
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. That was a lot of fun.
We had on our Wednesday night Band of Blades game, we had the bookkeeping phase, which is where we play the higher level roles that aren't really characters, like the Marshal and the Spy Master and stuff, where we do our research and decide what missions we want to go on next so that we can prep for who's going to go on them. And that was very interesting and fun.
Mm-hmm.
Friday night, my character in Dresden Files got to stretch his wings, literally, because I'm a werehawk.
Mm-hmm.
So
nice.
That was fun. I was flying around tailing somebody. And then on Sunday, Forbidden Lands, we finally reached the Vale of the Dead. After trying to get there the previous session, overland travel, baby, you can get random encounters that just totally take you in a different direction that you don't expect.
I mean, listen, I think you should tell why you didn't get there,
yes,
right?
We were traveling through dense forest, and we came upon a clearing, which was very large, and it looked like it was all just black sand. And kneeling down in the middle of this clearing was this little girl. And she at first was reluctant to talk to us and didn't really want to say anything. But she kind of took to our goblin companion, Gore, which is Glenn's character. And it turns out that was her village. And there was a magical fight between two people, and they broke the fabric of reality and burned the whole town down. And there was nothing left but ash. And she had been out gathering mushrooms and came back to find her whole place destroyed. So we're like, well, we can't leave this little girl here in the middle of nowhere. We can't take her to the Vale of the Dead with us on our mission. We're like, well, what are we going to do? So we took her south where we knew there was another village and found the people that we had previously run into their wedding in the forest and crashed. And we said, hey, we found this kid. Can you take care of take care of her for a while? And maybe if you head up by our place, take her with you, and then we'll hook up with you when we get back. when we get back from the Veil of the Dead, because we're coming back.
Mhm.
And then we went and continued on. But we're not complete heartless heathens. You know, we took this little girl and we rescued her and tried to do the right thing. So,
it was good. It was, and it's the kind of thing that happens all the time in the game. Like this was a random encounter, and it was in the thing, and we just play him as we roll him, and like I said at the top of the show, right? These guys aren't murder hobos, so they're like, we cannot legitimately take this little girl to the Veil of the Dead. Like, we need to take her somewhere, and they knew that there was this town. It was like a quarter day's ride away, and they're like, detour, we're taking her to the town, then we'll resume. Yeah. So it was good.
We did that, and then like we mentioned already in the early part of the show, watching Hellstrom and season 7 of Clone Wars. Again, Hellstrom, if you dig horror shows, supernatural, fighting demons, give it a shot. It's highly entertaining.
There's some conspiracy in that one too.
Yeah, sure, definitely. There's some conspiracy in there too. That's me, Jerry.
First of all, Band of Blades has just been amazing. This was all just a setup thing. As I've talked a couple times before, while I really love the new indie games and I love kind of the rules-like games, I also grew up enjoying the spreadsheet style background things you did for games, designing ships, maintaining things in the background. Band of Blades has some really cool stuff in it that takes place kind of between adventures. That's a lot of world building. In this case, I'm playing the Marshal, and part of my job is to assign the various squads and come up with extra characters and decide who's going to go on what missions and why, and then the different players get to flesh things out. So I'm enjoying all of that side of things. The between game sessions are a lot of fun. We played Dresden Files, so I'm getting to dip my toe back into Fate again. And as you guys know, I've had issues with Fate in the past, and I really want to learn how to play it better. And I think this is going to be a really good chance to do it. Plus, we're having a really good adventure, and Chris set it in the area where I used to live. So there's a lot of fun going over just some of the creepy stuff that exists in Central New York that is completely non-magical, but damn, it could be. DCC was good, getting a chance to wrap that up and level our characters up. Been doing more bike riding this week with the rain. I haven't been able to, but been up to doing about 1.5 miles each day, which is making me feel a lot better. But this weekend, we had one of our players couldn't make it to our Sunday night Eberron game, and so with just Chris and Schmitty on hand, we decided to play one of the Grant Howitt games. We voted on Sexy Battle Wizards, which is a great one-page game about trying to solve catastrophic problems as a sexy battle wizard in a land where just about everybody else is going to be sexy and battle type or wizards. And it's a good, fun, simple game where you run around trying to either magic stuff, seduce stuff, or battle stuff, or all the above. And those who are in some of the Slack room channels will see some of Schmitty's comments. He was on point with his puns and sarcasm. That was a lot of fun. Oh, good. Crafty Andy says that they played Sexy Battle Wizards on Sasgeek as well. So I'd recommend you go and find it and listen to it because it's a fun little game. You can play a whole game session in like 2 to 4 hours without any difficulty whatsoever. It's just been a lot of fun. And I would just say it's been a good, despite craziness at my job, which is now evened out, the week itself was pretty good. Wackiness. I'll learn one of these days. Wackiness. I need to put that at the top.
It's a tough one. It took us a while to stamp it out.
Yep. Chaos then. But it's been good, and I've got a lot of good employees that helped with a lot of it. So, Phil?
Yeah. I'm going to put away the Knights Black Agents board for a minute. So I continued watching Voyager. I got through season 4 of Voyager. Boy, let me tell you, when Michael Pyler leaves a series that I can't say again. I asked Twitter this weekend, but I didn't get any theories on it. I don't think it's that Michael Pyler left. I think I have a stronger feeling it's that Jerry Ryan took over the series.
Jerry Taylor.
I'm sorry, Jerry Taylor, right?
Yeah.
Jerry Ryan is an actress.
Yeah. No, Jerry Taylor took over the series in season 4. Jerry Taylor also took over season 5 of TNG. And I have often said that season 5 of TNG is best TNG. But season 4 of Voyagers, because season 4 of Voyager is the 7 of 9 season, the beginning of 7 of 9, and it is excellent. Like, I watched the whole season, thoroughly enjoyed it. I started season 5. Season 5 also as good. I now understand, having got through the first 3 seasons, I understand why the show has some pretty strong fans now. There is actually, while I still don't like the premise because I would have loved him more in the Alpha Quadrant, I like the characters and the actual stories, like the actual episodes. The episodes are really good. The quality of the episodes is much better. So I've been enjoying Voyager quite a bit. Watching DS9 as part of the Watch Club, so I'm like rewatching a lot of these episodes again. Still thoroughly enjoying it. DS9 will remain forever my favorite Trek, forever and ever. Unless they invent one better than DS9, but I'll be hard pressed to find out.
Well, there are rumors they want to bring back DS9.
I'm all for that. I've read those rumors.
Yeah.
Played more Minecraft. I am very close. I think in a couple weeks I will finish this mod pack. I am into the really large scale, ridiculous part of this mod. Like, I am now building stuff. I'm now no longer building anything small. Everything is like ridiculously large and sweeping. I'm building up to the end game. There are only a handful of things I have left to do for the end game. There's a handful of achievements left to achieve, and I'm well on my way there. So I think in a couple of weeks I will knock off this pack, and then we can start talking about getting another pack going. Because while I don't want to play a Stone Block or Sky Block as a group, there were a whole bunch of mods, like little mods, in this pack that I think everyone would like. Like, there were a whole bunch of like little utility mods and stuff that would be like, these would be really cool. Plus, I highly suggest we put a couple of high-end end game mods in for the people who kind of burn through the middle, so that they have something to kind of work up towards. Yeah. So anyway, I've been playing that. I played DCC. I played Forbidden Lands. We talked about all that. I did not, like Jerry said, I did not get to do a lot of bike riding. Rain has interfered with that, although I did go on a nice 3-mile bike ride with my son to go pick up bread from the market, which was actually a lot of fun, except for the fact that the first half of the ride was into the wind. So the first half of the ride, I was dying the whole way to the grocery store. Got to the grocery store, turned around, had the wind at my back, and the ride home was effortless.
Yep.
I'm a large man. When the wind blows against me, my bike comes to almost a complete stop, right? Like, it is just nothing but effort for me to ride into the wind. Anyway, that was fun. And no, I did not forget this Discord has ghosts. I was just saving it. I did get to play this Discord has ghosts, which is a online role-playing game that uses Discord, specifically uses Discord as its communication platform. And it's about exploring a haunted location. And the way it works is that there are half the players are ghosties, half of them are ghosts, and ghosts can only type in chat rooms and put things into the various Discord channels, like images, sounds, things like that. And the investigators can only speak. And so they're assumed to be on walkie-talkies or something, and they're speaking to one another. And different channels are like different rooms, and the whole goal of it is to kind of discover what's going on. And you have an opportunity, if you can figure out what is keeping the ghost bound to this world. You can try to if you understand what's holding them there, you can kind of help talk them into letting go. and going away. And so it was a fantastic group. Senda cultivated everybody. It was like part of her home game group. Schmitty was there.
I was supposed to be there, but sadly my brain did not cooperate on Saturday.
Yeah, that's okay. April from Thirsty Sword Lesbians. The writer of Thirsty Sword Lesbians was there. Anyway, we had a fantastic time. It was a lot of fun, and it was a really interesting way to use the medium, since it's a game that like specifically has some very specific rules of how to use Discord to play it. And there were a few modifications because Senda's actually played this a few times, so she's kind of modded the game up a little. And I actually like her modification. So there was like a little powwow between the ghosts to kind of figure out, like, to come up with a coherent story for them. There was a little powwow with the investigators, which I think is in the game, to kind of figure out like who they are, what they're doing. And we decided we were YouTube vloggers.
Ghost facers.
So I was Todd Kellogg, and I had a podcast called the Cereal Isle, where I reviewed and ate cereals. So I was going to this haunted boat to eat spooky cereals in different, like I was going to eat Count Chocula and Boo Berry and all of that in spooky locations. And then all hell broke loose. So
we should say we got a note from the thing, not powwow. We had a meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Yes.
Wow. Thank you.
No
Correct.
problem.
Yeah, it's a process.
Yeah.
We had a pregame meeting.
We're learning.
I apologize. I can't believe that slipped through. I can believe it slipped through because I'm a product of my age.
Yes.
I apologize for letting that slip through. Yeah, we had a pregame meeting. And the part that I think is not in the game is that while they tell you the player should come up with kind of a reason to be, they don't tell you to do that with the ghosts. And Senda added that into the game. And it was really good because the ghosts had an actual story to them. And it was actually really good. Like, it was a lot of fun to kind of uncover, rather than just uncovering like, oh, this ghost, like, this is their problem, this ghost is their problem. They were all kind of tied together.
That's
and
cool.
And kind of figuring out how they all tied together, and then figuring out how to release all of them was a lot of fun. So
cool.
That was really enjoyable. And then my last thing I'll tack on, for reasons I don't even understand, I am reading the Traveler Classic rules.
I was wondering where you were going to get to that.
The little black book rules. I don't know why I'm reading them. I'm just like, I don't know. I remember a time, and this is, I think, a bit of nostalgia, but I also think that this is, I don't know exactly what it is. I remember a time when role-playing games were 96 pages, stapled bound softcover books. And they were like, they weren't perfect, they weren't comprehensive, but we all managed to play them and survive. And I'm not necessarily saying the rules weren't dated and stuff like that, because I'm for sure reading the Traveler rules and I'm like, would I do this different or whatever? But, we put a lot into the production of role-playing games nowadays. I have 2 monstrous Numenera books on my shelf, and I'm literally monstrous in size. And I remember, like, the thing that always fascinated me about classic Traveler was 3 6x9 soft cover books in a little box with 2d6. That was the whole game.
Did you play it a lot?
I didn't play it at all.
Oh, we played
I owned it.
I played the hell out of Traveler, both the original books, the little black books. When the Alien modules came out, we played Traveler a ton.
I kind of want to play it. Like, I'm reading through it, and it's not awful. Like, the rules are pretty easily understood.
It's got some issues, but it's a lot of fun. And even in the original rules, they Traveler is famous for the you can die during character generation thing.
Yep.
And they very quickly, in like the first Traveler fanzine, said, no, if you don't die, just take 1 point off one of your stats. It was, but it's famous for that.
Yeah,
it does tell you have to make a survival roll at the end of every tour, which I think is pretty interesting.
It's also a game where you don't play young adventurers. All of your characters are adventuring after a career in something.
They lean towards the seasoned.
Yes, they lean towards the seasoned. But it definitely and one of the things that made it so much fun was that they had a official magazine that came out at the same time that was giving a meta plot in the background that started as fiction. They were telling the fictional story about some adventurers, and what you found out as the thing went on was that the stuff that was happening in their meta plot was actually a result of what was happening in the fiction. But it took like a year for that all to collide, where you realized, oh my God, this is happening because of what these people did here. And what happened in a couple adventures.
That was the Traveler Aid Society, right?
The Traveler's Aid Society and the Traveler's Journal. I still have my TAS card. I'm not gonna say it was a great game, but it was the first really popular, well-supported science fiction game out there. That was more hard science than sci-fi. Go ahead, Bill.
The other one that I really had a strong interest in playing, which I bought a bunch of stuff for, but my players never wanted to play it, was Traveler 2300.
Oh, I still have a bunch of that. Surprisingly, that game plays better if you convert it to Traveler. If you convert the rules, the rules for that game were not good.
Yeah, I mean, what I remember loving about it was it had this whole history, and it also had, which I really loved, was like in 2300 it had this section with all these weapons in it, and instead of just being like, this is a weapon, like it would be like, this is the T-81 Stormbringer, whatever, and then it would tell you like a paragraph about like, this was used in like the Indochina War of whatever, and it has this problem, and like it was like it had like a really rich background and had some really cool stuff. I mean, the beanstalks and the biotech aliens. I forget what the little shambling mound alien.
The pentapods.
The pentapods. Yeah.
Which were a big secret for a while.
Yeah, and the artwork was really good for 2300. Like.
Yeah.
But I never played it because my players were never into it. And Traveler, I had the problem I've always had, which is I'm a sci-fi kid in a world of fantasy people. Right?
Yeah.
I'm always the kid who I saw Star Wars before I encountered Lord of the Rings, and actually I saw Star Trek before I saw Star Wars. Yeah. Before I saw Lord of the Rings. So for me, I love sci-fi. I love hard sci-fi. I love naval sci-fi. Like I love, novels about, ship captains exploring the universe, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Traveler 2300 was very hard sci. It was it did a lot of good stuff. Now, do you know the quick story about how they designed the universe?
Well, it's an extrapolation from Twilight 2000, right?
No. They made up a board game about space exploration, and like 10 of the designers got together and played out like a 300-year expansion.
Oh, that's where the arms come from. The French arm.
And they had one player who was, and everybody got to play like 4 groups. And that's why France and I think China are big powers, because one player played both of them and just took over the map. And then they built their world off of that. It was really neat. So it did
interesting.
You get some unusual things out there, and some groups that have weird little clusters of power because one player managed to seize Australia and stay there for the rest of the Risk game, sort of thing.
Yeah,
nice.
And the other one was the pentapods. You know the big secret with the pentapods?
No,
they're all one being.
Neat.
On the pentapod's homeworld, there's this giant Chthonian creature that sends out little pieces of itself into the universe to talk to mankind, and nobody knows if it's benign or not.
Nice.
Cool.
So it was a really well researched game. I've got a bunch of it, Phil, if you want to read more stuff on it. So
Yeah, I actually, I have a ridiculous amount in PDF. I have a ridiculous amount of Traveler, and actually, I have a ton of Mongoose Traveler, which is fine. But going back to my original thought here, Mongoose Traveler does the thing that I didn't like about Traveler. Right? It's every one of those what used to be the little black books is now some giant hardcover book.
Yeah, they expanded on everything greatly and ballooned it up to.
And I get it, right? Like, I mean, we make game books, right?
Sell game books, make money.
I mean, there's a part of me that still waxes nostalgic for a 96-page staple-bound softcover book that was like, here's your game. Like,
there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And actually, there's been a lot of indie stuff like that coming out over the last.
Oh yeah, I think
if you like Traveler, look at Mega Traveler. Mega Traveler was a really nice. It was the AD&D to basic, and took all the things that worked in Traveler and took everything from the first. When Traveler came out, there were the 3 little black books, and they put out another 14 little black books that had. One was all about being a merchant, one was all about being a scout, and so on.
Yep.
They took all that information and compiled it into a 3-book box set called Mega Traveler, where each of the books was the size of like the Earl Otis basic rule book. One was for characters, one was for GMs, and then one was all just equipment and ships, which will take all those other books and put them in together. It was really kind of cool. Yeah.
Right. On that note, we should probably do the Patreon shout-outs and roll into the after show.
Sounds good to me.
We are back to the Royal Court. So, thank you all for being the Royal Court and patrons of the show. Andrew Dacey, the Warden of Whiskies. Andy Olson, the Duke of Dice. Brian Kurtz, the Royal Doctor of Physic. Craig, the Lord of One Name. Eric Bontz, the Duke of Gators, and his special alternate name, the only person with 2, the Lord of Briefness. Our very own Jerry Meyer, the Lord of the After Show. Jesse Edmond, the Royal Doctor. John C. LeMay, the Guard at the End of the World. John Carney, the Court Necromancer. Kevin Lovecraft, the Royal Beard. Richard Wyatt, Captain of the Royal Airship Fleet. Schmitty, the Keeper of the Labyrinth.
Schmitty!
Tiberius Starcrash Smith, one of the best names ever. The Baron of Britannia. And Todd Crapper, the Prophet of Probability. Thank you all for being our patrons, and thanks to everyone for listening tonight.
If you are free on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. the Queen's time, you're welcome. Come join us live on Twitch, where you can chat with other listeners in the awesome chat room for life and ask us the occasional question.
And if you cannot make it to the live show, check out our podcast each week, wherever you get your podcasts. And take a listen to some of the other shows in the Misdirected Mark Network, such as Down with D&D, Bonestone Obsidian, the FM Gamers, Panis Talking Games, the Gnomecast, Jangu Hustle, She's a Super Geek, and Bonus Experience. You can and should also check out our sibling podcasts, Tabletop Bellhop, Knights of the Night, and the always amazing Gaming MBS, who's in our chat room tonight.
Absolutely. After you have discovered the secret of the conspiracy, don't tell anyone. Just don't. It'll get you in trouble. So instead, you could leave us some feedback about this episode. Reach us directly via email. And don't forget, they are watching the email. So send us your encrypted message via email at mmp@misdirectedmark.com. Or check us out on Twitter, where they are definitely watching you. The show and the network is at Misdirected Mark. He's Robert M. Everson.
I am always to your right, Phil. I am always to your right. I'm your right-hand man.
Oh, I can remember that. He's Robert M. Everson. He's GM Gerrymander, and I am DNA Phil.
If you like what we do here and on the other shows in the Misdirected Mark Network, you can support our Patreon campaigns. MMP, Down with D&D, and Pandas Talking Games are at patreon.com/MMP. She's a Super Geek is at patreon.com/SassGeek. Zhanghu Hustle is at patreon.com/Zhanghu Hustle. And Bonus Experience is at patreon.com/Bonus Experience. Patrons of MMP, Down with D&D, and Pandas Talking Games get access to the after show, pre-production show notes, musical parodies, the Pandas Talking Games bonus outtakes, and other special releases.
Don't tell anybody, but this has been a Misdirected Mark production, the media arm of Encoded Design. Mic drop.
We out.